Good morning. Welcome to a Saturday, nice, beautiful Saturday morning. It's freezing outside, so we're not going out there to ride. We're staying indoors and we are working out on the BikeErg. So let's get started.
So, word of warning, I made a noob mistake here and I chopped my head off. And so I was debating on whether or not to publish this video to begin with, and I decided to do so. So, this is a BikeErg workout, and I didn't want to not publish this because I'd like to show you what I do during winter months, especially when I can't ride outside or at this point, I have a very busy schedule and I can't always ride. And so what I do is I hop onto the BikeErg and in the morning for half an hour, and then get that way I don't have to fuss with getting dressed and warming up to a certain extent outside and then riding. So 30 minutes in the morning, and then I oftentimes do another half an hour or 30 minutes in the afternoon. So today's workout is a longer ride. It's actually an hour long, and what I did was I did a 2 by 12 minute at steady state, and my calculated steady state intensity is 111 watts to 117 watts, and a 3 by 1 minute fast pedal, and that is pedaling at over 100 revolutions per minute or RPMs. So I was sort of dreading this workout, especially the fast pedal portion of that, because I wasn't sure how I was going to be able to handle it. I actually have never worked on my cadence on the BikeErg, and so this is the first time. And the reason why I'm doing the fast pedal is it's a nice drill for me to work on getting my cadence up, because I think my cadence, now I don't have a cadence sensor in my outdoor on my actual road bike, but I do think that my cadence, in order to speed up, I think that you should also work on the cadence, not so much on high gear. So I am working on cadence the last part of this workout. So right now I am just warming up. The warm up is 10 minutes. You could see there I'm hovering around the 40 or so watts at 11 miles an hour, and my cadence is 60 RPMs. And so a good warm up when you're doing a longer workout like what I'm doing now, especially as a novice rider. I don't want to injure myself, especially if I'm also doing a long ride tomorrow outdoors. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fast forward here, ramp up the speed a little bit so you can get the sense of what the steady state interval was like for me, whether or not I was able to sustain that 111 to 117 watts. I was sort of hovering between that, and sometimes when I would look at, if I pedal harder, I would be at 135 watts, and then when I held back or scaled back on it, I would go below 100 watts. So it was kind of tricky to figure out what would be the happy medium. So you could see here I went up to like 134 watts in the beginning, and so I'd really had to focus on keeping the power between 111 to 117. I have the damper setting set at 5. I definitely think that I should have done it. I should have set it to 3 because I wasn't really feeling a whole lot of lactic acid buildup in my legs. So that's probably because my cadence is down to 59 RPMs. So I think next time what I'm going to try to do is set it down to 3, and so I can get the RPMs going and I can really get that lactic acid buildup. So this interval is 12 minutes long. So I'm going to ramp up the speed again so that we can avoid all this. There's basically a 6-minute recovery in between each interval. So if you would like to do this at home, it's 2 by 12 minutes. So 12 minutes at steady state, and then 6-minute recovery in between those steady state intervals. So I didn't really talk about the purpose of why I'm doing steady state intervals. And basically, a steady state interval is good if you want to increase your maximum sustainable power. That's below your lactate threshold. And so, what this does is it forces your body to deal with a lot of lactate for a relatively long period of time. And you experience this especially when you're climbing. And so this is why I'm doing this kind of workout is um, I'm going to be doing a couple of Grand Fondos next year. And there are some climbing involved. And I'd really like to increase or improve that part of my training. So what I'm doing here now is just recovering. I'm recovering at above between 70 and 80 watts, and I try to, in my recovery, I try to go on the lower end of that, just so that I get the full recovery, and then I can go a little harder the second interval. So this is now my second interval. I just changed the damper setting to 5, and again maintaining that range between 111 and 117 watts. I think I might have started to feel uncomfortable towards the end of this interval, mainly because I'm never really that comfortable on the BikeErg, and I don't want to say that it's not a good piece of equipment, because it is. I think there were a couple of factors that play in a role into that, and one of them was that I have my period. I know, a little TMI, but it's reality, and I was feeling comfortable. The seat for this BikeErg, the original seat itself, was very uncomfortable. I think in 15-20 minutes I was starting to feel discomfort while riding, but I changed the seat over to a WTV Volt, which is similar to what I have in my road bike, and that is much more comfortable. It's just that I can't figure out exactly. I guess I can just go back to revert to that reason or excuse, being that I just have my period. So what I'm going to do now is skip over to the last part of this ride, which is the fast pedal part. Right now I'm still at the recovery stage, and I am slowly ramping up here. And you could see my power is slowly increasing and my cadence slowly increasing. I made a mistake by looking at my power, and I thought, oh, okay, so I'm in 112 watts now, and I think I'm okay. But I made a mistake by not looking at the cadence monitor. So after I realized I made a mistake, I started to ramp up my speed, and you can start to see that I'm pedaling faster. I will be reaching 100 RPMs towards the end. I actually reached 105 RPMs. My goal was to do 108, and I couldn't quite get there. My watts, you could see, it is pretty high for my standards. But yeah, I couldn't really get up to 108 without bouncing off the seat. So I have to figure out what I can do next time to be able to get to 108. So the goal was 108 to 120. Definitely not be able to make it to 120. Who knows? With more training, I guess that could happen. So that's 1 minute of fast pedaling, and then I am just recovering for 2 minutes. And I was looking at my heart rate on my watch, and unfortunately I couldn't figure out how to upload that data on here, because there were two things that came to play. It was the data from the BikeErg, and it was my heart rate data from my watch. I do have a heart rate chest strap monitor. For some reason it doesn't work as well, or it for some reason it just glitches out. So I haven't been using it, and I could connect that to the BikeErg. It's just that it doesn't work very well. The connection keeps dropping out. So I was just using my watch as a gauge to see if my heart rate has recovered, and I believe my heart rate did go up to 100, which is low actually. And when you think about when you're sick, or especially when I was sick, my heart rate when going up the hills went up to at least 170. The highest part was 193. So yeah, just waiting for my heart rate to recover. I actually allotted about 2 minutes of recovery time, which was just enough for it to go down and then ramp up again for the next interval. So I'm fast forwarding again to this second interval. There is one more interval left. It actually wasn't that bad, like I said earlier. I was dreading this part, but I didn't. 1 minute was actually perfect. I think there would definitely have been some lactic acid buildup if it was more than a minute. And I did this because I believe I mentioned in the beginning of the video, really to get the cadence up and practice just getting the cadence in. Sometimes I can't because sometimes there are hills where I'm riding outside. So this is a good way just to get your legs moving. Everybody. Everybody prays to God by different names. Tell me your version. You don't have to play it down or fake it. Don't give me that bullshit. Driving in the parking lot in the shades with counterfeit leather. Together, heaven don't play like violence. I've been up over mountains. You're not a book that I read, but I know how you love me. Reflection. If you wanna cash your stake in the answers, then ask me the questions. Heaven don't play like violence.